Hello and welcome again to this question and answer session brought to you here on SUZA TV. You're with me, Munir Mustafa, as we continue to look upon questions which are brought in biology. This time we're going to be looking at the Form 4 syllabus. And this is one of the most important parts of this program in which many people should watch and should understand. So without wasting any further time, let's start with our first question for the day. Our first question states that to explain the significance of mitosis. We all know that in our previous sessions we have talked about meiosis. We have said that meiosis involves the splitting of one cell into 4 identical daughter cells which have half the number of chromosomes of the parent cell, while mitosis is different from meiosis, as mitosis involves the splitting of the cells, but the cells retain the same number of chromosomes as the original cells. This means that the cells only increase in number, but the amount of chromosomes remains the same as the parent cell. Mitosis is very, very important to an organism. So in a question like this, when we are told to explain the significance of mitosis, we're just required to mention what are the significances or what are the advantages of mitosis. So we can start by saying mitosis is significant in the following ways or reasons. Any word is acceptable. First of all, mitosis results into genetic stability. We all know that in order for an organism to be genetically stable, that the number of chromosomes to remain stable, there must be mitosis, in which the cells would increase in numbers but the number of chromosomes would remain the same. As if there was no mitosis, if the number of chromosomes increased or decreased daily, as each division decreases half the number of chromosomes. So if this occurred, then the number of chromosomes in each cell would have been very, very low. So mitosis keeps a genetically stable the body genetically stable, as the number of chromosomes remain the same when mitosis occurs. Also, mitosis is the base of sexual reproduction. We all know that sexual reproduction involves the splitting of cells. Mitosis, after reproduction has occurred, there's a rapid growth of cells. The number of cells continue to divide themselves. So during this period, mitosis occurs very rapidly, as a huge number of cells occurs, from 2 cells to 4 cells to 8 cells to up to 64 cells, until the embryo or until the fetus begins to form. Mitosis is the basic of growth, as it causes an increase in the number of cells. We all know that in mitosis, as we have talked about in the beginning, that mitosis involves just the division of cells. The number of chromosomes, everything as the original cell remains the same. So an increase in number of cells leads to growth. So in this way, we can say that mitosis is the basic element of growth in an organism. Mitosis replaces the amounts of cells dying, thus keeps the amounts of cells constant. We all know that in our body there are some parts in which the cells die every day. So if mitosis was not occurring, or if mitosis would not occur, as the passing days increase, the number of cells would just die and not be replaced, and in the end there would not be any amount or any cells left in the organism. For instance, skin cells, cells of the hair, nails, many cells in the body die and are replaced due to mitosis. Also, mitosis is used as a mechanism of repair and regeneration. Mitosis just replaces the number of cells and increases the number of cells, so it can be used as a mechanism of repair and regeneration. For instance, lizard tails are very fragile and can easily break off, but due to mitosis, when the lizard's tail breaks off, a new one can grow due to mitosis. So due to mitosis, the tail of the lizard can grow back, can regenerate. Moving on to our second question, which says, what are the factors which affect growth in plants and animals? We all know that growth occurs in plants and animals, but there are factors which can affect it. That is, it can hinder the growth or it can increase the growth level. So in animals and plants, there are many factors. There are internal factors and there are external factors. Internal factors are factors which occur within the organism. So within the organism, there are some factors which can increase the growth or can decrease the growth level. But there are other factors which are the external factors which do not occur within the organism. These, when grouped with the organism, can cause either an increase of growth or a decrease of growth. On answering a question like this, you can just explain it in a paragraph way. So we start by saying growth in plants and animals is affected due to internal and external factors. Among those factors are, in the external factors, we have diet. We all know that a good diet leads to a healthy growth level, as people who have a complete and balanced diet tend to grow and to be in a normal size, while people who have a malnourished, who have a poor diet, tend to have an improper or an irregular growth level or an irregular growth rate. Also, diseases. The health in body, some diseases can cause a person's growth to be severely redundant or retarded, and there are some other, and the health in the human being or health in other organisms can cause the growth level to increase. So a healthy, for instance, well, there are some people who have diseases such as achondroplasia. These diseases can cause a person's growth level to decrease. There is the temperature. The temperature can affect a person's growth level. There are some organisms which tend to grow taller in hot climates or cold climates, and there are other organisms which tend to decrease their growth in hot or cold climates. The availability of oxygen. Oxygen, as we all know, is an important substance for respiration in all organisms, be it plants, be it animals. So if there is a high amount of oxygen, then the growth level can be high. But if there's a small amount of oxygen, then the growth level is retarded or is reduced. Also, relative humidity. Relative humidity most of the time refers to the plants. So relative humidity can be shown in transpiration. If the amount of transpiration is high in an area, then the plant's growth rate is very severely reduced. But if there is a low level of transpiration, then the growth rate can be increased of the organism, of the plant. Moving on to internal factors, growth hormones. The growth hormones are hormones which are found in the thyroid for humans, such as the HCG, the human growth hormone, or their gibberellins and their plant hormones. So in the growth hormones, the level of growth hormones produced affects the growth of the organism. For instance, in animals, too much production of growth hormones can cause gigantism, whereby the person or the organism grows to a height which is taller than normal. Or if there is a very low amount, then cretinism or dwarfism occurs, in which the organism becomes shorter, or its height is shorter than the average height of the other organisms. And finally, we have apical dominance. This refers to plants whereby the apex or the leaves, which leaves are dominant. There are some parts in which the apical dominance causes the growth to be higher, and there are some positions of the apex which can show the plant to be short. Moving on to our third question, we are told to define the following terms and give an example of an organism where each takes place. So we have some terms, and an example of the organism is required to be given. Our first term is incomplete metamorphosis. Incomplete metamorphosis, this is, I know to some this is a very new word, but the word incomplete, we all know that it means it's not completed. But metamorphosis means changes. So which changes or which things makes a change complete in an organism? We'll see just in a moment. Incomplete metamorphosis. This is the type of growth process in which an insect develops through 3 stages. So this is nothing but just a growth process in which the insect develops through 3 stages only. There are some insects which develop through 4 stages, and there are some which develop through only 3 stages. These stages are namely the egg, the nymph, and the adult or imago. The egg, we all know what is an egg, but what is a nymph? A nymph is just the organism, or is a stage in which the organism looks just like the adult but is smaller in fact. In this incomplete metamorphosis, there is no larval stage. So there is no larval stage. So without the larva, and also there is no pupa. So this incomplete metamorphosis just goes through the egg, the nymph, and the adult. A good example of an organism which does incomplete metamorphosis is the grasshopper. Our second term is complete metamorphosis. This is the opposite of incomplete metamorphosis. So a complete metamorphosis is nothing but a growth process in which an insect develops through 4 stages. So in the incomplete metamorphosis, the organism or the insect develops through 3 stages only. In the complete metamorphosis, the organism or the insect develops through 4 stages, which are the egg, the larva, the pupa, and the adult or imago. We all know that the egg is the beginning, or is the structure in which the insect develops from in the beginning. The larva is a worm-like organism which most of the time has no legs and is different in shape and in diet from the adult. The pupa is a structure in which the larva spins around itself, or the larva encases itself while it develops into the imago after some time. The pupa can also be called a chrysalis. And the adult imago is the adult organism, or is the adult insect. And a good example of an organism which undergoes complete metamorphosis is the butterfly. So we all know that when a butterfly, the fly, the normal fly, the butterfly, all undergo complete metamorphosis, in which the egg, for instance, in butterflies, there's the egg, there's the larvae, which are also called caterpillars, there's the pupa or chrysalis, and then there is the adult, which is the butterfly. Also, and we have ecdysis. Also, ecdysis is a new term here in which most of us see. Ecdysis is nothing but the shedding of the outer exoskeleton of an organism, revealing or exposing new soft exoskeleton. So there's, in a period of time, most organisms with exoskeletons grow, but as they grow, the difference between organisms with an endoskeleton and organisms with an exoskeleton is that the endoskeleton is flexible and grows with the body, but an exoskeleton is stiff and does not grow with the body inside. So inside, when the body becomes too big for that exoskeleton, the organism sheds its outer exoskeleton and renews its other exoskeleton with a larger one which fits the organism. So doing this process is known as ecdysis. A good example is the beetle. The beetle undergoes ecdysis when it grows. As it grows, there comes a period of time where it needs to shed its exoskeleton, as the exoskeleton no longer fits the organism. Moving on to our fourth question, we are told to distinguish between diffuse growth and localized growth and name the kingdoms that exhibit each kind of growth. So there are two types of growth here which have been mentioned, and we are required to differentiate between the diffuse growth and localized growth. After we've done that, we are required to mention or to name the kingdom which does this, or which exhibits this type of growth. So beginning with diffuse growth. Diffuse growth is the type of growth whereby growth occurs all over the body of an organism. So a diffuse growth refers to the growing of the entire organism. The entire organism undergoes growth. For instance, organisms such as human beings, fish, all undergo diffuse growth as the entire body changes in size. This type of growth occurs in members of the kingdom Animalia. While localized growth is the type of growth whereby growth occurs in a certain region. So there are some types of region, or there are some regions in which localized growth occur. This occurs mostly in plants, as plants do not grow entirely all at once. There are some parts which would grow taller than the others, some parts would grow thicker than the others, but each one would grow at its own pace. So this occurs in members of kingdom Plantae. So this is what localized growth is. And finally, we are required to mention or to explain briefly why seed dormancy is important to plants. We all know that seed dormancy refers to the time whereby the seed does not grow, does not germinate, due to the fact that it has not found favorable conditions. So in finding favorable conditions, that is when seed dormancy is broken. But we're required to mention why is seed dormancy important to cells or to the plants. So seed dormancy is important in plants because it ensures that the seed survives in unfavorable conditions. So first of all, in unfavorable conditions such as intense heat, drought, floods, intense cold, those types of conditions causes a seed to be dormant, as if the seed germinates in one of those extreme conditions, it could very well die and not survive. So to ensure the survival of the plant, the seeds are dormant until they find the right conditions. Also, it allows seeds to germinate when chances for survival of the young plants are the greatest. So if chances of survival of the young plants are very high, then seed dormancy is broken. But if the chances are very low, then the seed would remain dormant until it finds the right conditions for germination. That is all for today. Let us stop here, and next time we're going to continue into other questions of the Form 4 syllabus. From those here at SUZA TV, you are with me, Munir Mustafa. Thank you and have a nice day.